This morning, I want to debunk arguments with common sense. Number one, what's the first argument they make? We should be capitalist in thinking. Subsidy should never be in the playbook of a capitalist. Dead arguments. Number one, what's the most capitalist country in the world? United States of America. America gives $35 billion in tax breaks to producers of oil to be able to reduce the price at the pump. $35 billion every year. America pays subsidy, a production subsidy. First argument gone. Second argument, there's more money in the hands of the state, right? Mm-hmm. Second argument, in 2018, the fact they shared was 7.9 trillion. At the exchange rate, it was $26 billion. In 2025, the fact they trade was 21.9 trillion. At the exchange rate is $14 billion. I've not even factored in inflation. So the money has reduced in dollar terms, not even factoring in inflation. When I factor the role of inflation, it gets even higher. That's another argument gone down the drain. Third argument, we shouldn't hear any form of subsidies. That's another flawed argument. Nigeria paid 34 trillion in import waivers for gone revenue, 2025. Do you know how much that will have done for the people? And it was the big people. Dr. Abati, you always talk about the import waiver scam in this country. It was the big people that benefited from it. Thirdly, Nigerians are the biggest beneficiary of subsidies. It's a lie. Ayo, please, don't be deceived. You see all these dead arguments they make about, the chronic capitalists that ate subsidy money. Yes, the arguments exist. You know what has happened now? The chronic capitalist has just changed hands. The biggest beneficiary of subsidies, Ayo, I put it to you today, are not even Nigerians. The biggest beneficiary of subsidy are not Nigerians. They are chronic capitalists that have big infrastructure and they do contracts. They have been the biggest beneficiary of subsidy. So the idea of a chronic capitalism we have gotten done with is a dead argument. They've just shifted the cycle of people that make money. Formerly it was the NNPC. Now they just shifted the cycle of people that make money. Till today, they've not accounted for the over 3 trillion that was spent on the refinery. Over $3 billion that was spent on the refinery. So if they bring in that argument, it's already flawed. Which other argument do they have? The other argument that they make is that there was no, we don't want to go back to the days of long queues. No. Yeah. What caused long queues then was because of import logistics. Today you have Dangote producing locally. As at 2024 to 2025, when we're still paying subsidies, because we paid subsidies in 2024, there were no long queues, but we're subsidizing. So you can still have a subsidy regime going on, and there will be no long queues because production was closed by Dangote had it. That's just it. So that argument also falls flat on its feet. Please, if you have other argument, you can send to me. Let me debunk all this argument one by one. For me, I'm not also happy with Atiku Abubakar. And you see me, I don't like people just talking in the public space. By now, the next layer of Atiku's argument should be what I call mathematical modeling. What is the modeling? At what level of crude oil price will you pay subsidy or not? There was a point, if you remember, in 2020 during COVID, NNPC came and said subsidy was gone. You know why they said that? Because crude oil price was negative on the international market and prices were stable. So if crude oil price is negative, you don't need to pay subsidy. If crude oil price is like $40 per barrel, you don't still need to pay subsidy. There must be a threshold point where Atiku can think subsidy can kick in. And that's when they say all economists. This was the argument like of Bismarck Rwanda was making on Nairametrics Super Mike or something, what did they call it, by my brother Ogodre. So at what threshold? Is it at $80 per barrel? And what will be the cap on the kind of tax breaks you want to give? Issue it out. And what will be the subventions for the IOC you want to give? That's just it. What his proposal is saying is that there's a subsidy cap. Pretty much what we do. All it's just saying is sell below international rates to the already DSDO that we're doing, direct soup, that crude for Naira deal. That's what we're saying. All right? And there was still some form of that level of subsidy. NNPC, do you remember that was buying crude from Dangote and selling it at a shorter rate? It was after a point they said, we can't sustain this. Even when Dangote refinery kick-started. So he should now give us the mathematical modeling. And he needs to be able to get economists to do that for him. I'm not sure if he has done that as we speak today. Because if you bring out a proposal, you should also bring out the mathematical modeling. That's what we want to see in the argument. We will now debate if the mathematical modeling makes sense or not. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. Chronic capital. There are people that own private ports in this country. That carry things into this country, yes, that are not being accounted for. All the people that went to go and get free trade zone status near Riverline. Don't we need to carry things into this country? Why are we deceiving ourselves?
So should we not call for more transparency and accountability?
They should start by printing out all the names of people they gave import waivers of 34 trillion. That's accountability now. This deep shore offshore project that they want to do, and they want to give as much as $11 per barrel tax breaks. And they should print their names out now. Who are the people that enjoy those ones? They should give us accountability on people that they're giving import licenses for now. So when they keep deceiving people and saying, we are fighting chronic capitalism just change hands. All the argument of, so earth flats. It's not today they've been scamming Nigeria. Remember the days of import licenses? That's how some people can't meet up. See, you see, Nigeria is so corrupt to an extent that You will shout when your party no dey government. When your party don't dey government, you go collect and put them for your pockets. Move on. When your party leave government again, you go shout. That's what we keep doing. It's a clear case of Olegbani. That's what Nigeria is centered about. Except the people break their monopoly. And it's not the elite class that will break their monopoly. It's the people, except you break their monopoly of chronic capitalism. You can't have trickle-down economics. The reason why people are suffering in Nigeria is that they have trickle-down economics. Look at the import waivers they granted when food prices were high and everything. Who are the people that collected the import waivers to bring food in? They should print out their names and how many quota did they give them? Who are the people that collected the import waivers across the import licenses for even bringing in petrol in? They should print it. Is it me and you? Show me where I not get money. We be say rent, they scatter my head. I think of how I go pay my next rent for Vietnam. No, it's not me now. It's them. So when they come to lie to you and say, see, for any government policy, the question is, the capitalists that are enjoying it just change hands. That's what's happening. That's why some people are crying and complaining.
All right.
So it's the transparency we want to see. That's just it, pure and simple.
All right, Dr. Bati.
Okay, let me start with this long conversation over subsidy removal and Atiku Abubakar's intervention. And I speak as a man who was an insider observer when this happens and was spokesperson for the defense of the process under the Jonathan administration, because it was an issue under the Jonathan administration. Now, under the Jonathan administration, what that administration proposed was the deregulation of the downstream sector. We didn't call it subsidy removal. It was deregulation of the downstream sector. And at that time, the Jonathan administration in 2012 set up a committee led by Igboje Imokwede. I think Ig at the time was maybe managing director of Access Bank, but he was also a member of the economic management team. And his committee, his job was to do verification of all these, fuel subsidy claims. And that committee discovered that 21 companies were collecting money from Nigeria and making fraudulent claims under what they called, at the time, NNPC, as it then was, called it under recovery. Then, of course, that same committee, later, there was also another committee. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was the coordinating minister of the economy and minister of finance then. Another committee was now set up to look deeper. Again, it was the Igboje Imokwede committee working with the National Assembly, investigating all of this. That second committee further discovered that about 197 transactions relating to subsidy transactions had robbed Nigeria of up to about 232 billion naira. And within a space of about 2011, 2012 or thereabouts, that in fact Nigeria had lost money close to about $1 trillion. And it was on the basis of those findings that the Jonathan administration then decided on, deregulation of the downstream sector. And the focus was on the poor people to stop the fraud being collected by, perpetrated by rich people, and to make sure that the poor people were protected. It is a matter of irony that the people who are in the saddle today were even the ones then who led the rebellion against the Jonathan administration. So in a sense, that this subsidy matter is still on the table, it's a subtle reminder of, a vindication. Again, you may say, maybe I'm in an interested party, of the vindication of the Jonathan administration. The second issue I would like to address is that some people have been saying, why is Atiku Abubakar raising this issue? Well, we have said consistently that this 2027 election process should be about issues, not personalities. Yes. I have condemned the attempt by the Atiku camp, looking for certificate, looking for NYSC certificate. These are issues that have been treated for over 30 years, which have been settled even at the level of the Supreme Court. But if he's raising a policy issue, I think, yes, it's useful for public debate. And fuel subsidy removal remains one of those major issues at the heart of the economic management of the process. Now, the third point is that people are saying Atiku has changed his mind. After all, in 2023, he himself said he supported the idea of a fuel subsidy removal. Well, you can always change your mind. Yeah. We're dealing with policy. And if you look at why the presidential candidate of the ADC is changing his mind, what I seem to understand is that this is a good idea, but that the Tinubu administration has implemented it the wrong way. Now, Atiku Abubakar says he will restore the subsidy were he to win. But will he win? But the missing point in his own argument is that I don't see how he's providing an alternative. It's not enough to double down and say, I will restore fuel subsidy. If you restore fuel subsidy and you say the Tinubu administration has not managed it well, what are those lessons that I have seen in how the Tinubu administration has allegedly managed it well? And what will you do differently if you bring the subsidy back? It seems to me that the rub of the argument lies in how the Tinubu administration has managed the fuel subsidy process. It's a good idea. It's a good thing. Those economists who supported it as a good idea, they had the background of the revelations from the investigations starting from the Jonathan administration to say this is not good. This is punishing the poor. Now, what the critics are now complaining about is that the Tinubu administration has done a right thing the wrong way. And the audit that is being asked for, I think, is relevant. The audit is about, okay, NNPC used to provide what they call under recovery. Minister Oyedele has said that under recovery was stopped. What was saved from there is now going to the state governments. Okay? So people are saying, okay, how much? People are also asking, the people who were stealing from Nigeria, the 21 companies, the 197 transactions that the Jonathan administration identified, what has happened to those people who stole Nigeria's money, who used the fuel subsidy regime to steal? We have no information about that. The third question on the table is that, okay, when President Tinubu introduced this, where is that management team to manage the subsidy removal process to ensure that the outcome, the predicted outcome by the Tinubu administration is what is achieved, which is to make sure that the rich do not continue to punish the poor and that the poor gain the advantage. The argument now, which may appear populist, the way Atiku Abubakar and his team have phrased it, is that they are saying, well, the people have not gained anything. Okay, if they want to correct it, how will you make the people to gain? I think the conversation is useful. It's not a thing to say, well, this is about economics. This is the economics don't know. The economists don't know it all. The whole idea of policy, when you look at the cycle that we draw in policy analysis, the end of it is about the impact of the people, and the Nigerian people have the responsibility to talk about impact. However, if we say the money has been given to the state governments, there's something in policy management. Who governs the governor? Qui custodis ipso custodiet. It means who governs the governors. Who is doing the oversight, for example, at the state level? Who is asking these governors the more money that they collect, because everything is not federal? What are they doing with it? How much are you collecting at the end of the month? We don't see anybody doing that. At the federal level, when Senator Adams Oshiomhole stood up and said we have to ask questions about this more money that is coming to government, other members of the Senate said they were not interested. How can you run a successful policy if there is no oversight, if there is nobody governing the governors? All of them chickened out. And now, for political reasons or for whatever reasons, for issue-oriented campaign, the ADC has now brought up this matter, and everybody has become an economist in the matter. I think it's an issue that should not be swept under the market. It's an issue of relevance. If we are serious about our recommendation that this should be an issue-based campaign process as we move towards 2027, we can only talk here. We are talking heads. We just talk. I don't know how many people listen. Those who probably listen are also stone deaf and ignorant. But, we have institutions who can also formally raise these questions. The other issue is about the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary of the United States, declared that by dawn this morning, the United States is going to declare what he calls an economic D-Day against Iran. Iran has also fought back to say, well, if you chat, then we also are going to attack vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, ship seizures. So what it means is that the prospect for peace in the Middle East has still not been, is not in sight. What we call war of attrition, forever war, is real, because the United States is now even threatening associates of Iran, saying that most economic sanctions never seen before in human history will be imposed on Tehran, and also anybody who does business with Tehran will also be sanctioned. And then, so where does that leave us? Where it concerns us is in terms of price of energy, of oil. Now, oil prices went down this morning, slowed down, because investors are still watching the situation. The fear is that oil prices will further go up. Some analysts are predicting as much as about $100 per barrel. So the world is in dire straits because ceasefire failed, MOU failed, and America is threatening the rest of the world, and Trump wants to protect himself. So there are contradictions everywhere, either locally or internationally. And we suffer at the end of the day. The ordinary people of Nigeria, the ordinary people of the world, and the ordinary countries of the world, unfortunately.
Fortunately, well, thank you so much, Dr.